All attendees are in listen-only mode.
Good morning. My name is Joseph Citro, and I am Chair of Tampa City Council for this special called workshop held today, May 23rd, 2022. Chief Bennett, would you please give us the invocation today?
I'd be honored to. Good morning, Council. Good morning, public. Let's take a moment and place ourselves in the presence of God. The Lord left us with two commands and a single prayer, simple but of course never easy. Love God with all our heart and love our neighbor as ourselves. Sometimes we ask, who is our neighbor? I think Mother Teresa would tell us to point to the homeless, the hungry, the thirsty, the sick, the naked, the imprisoned. And with that, let's just take a moment and say a prayer silently to ourselves. The single prayer that we were taught was the Our Father, but feel free to have a moment of silence or say your own prayer. In the Lord's name we pray. Amen. Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Please be seated. Roll call.
Carlson.
Here.
Vieira. Here. Maniscalco. Here. Hurtek.
Here.
Goods.
Here.
Miranda. And Citro.
Here.
You have a physical quorum.
Mr. Massey.
Yes, sir. This morning, City Council special call workshop to discuss possible amendments to the city charter is being held at 9 a.m. in Old City Hall and City Council Chambers, 315 East Kennedy Boulevard. The public and citizens of the City of Tampa are able to watch, listen, or view this meeting on cable TV, Spectrum Channel 640, Frontier Channel 15, and via the internet, www.tampa.gov/livestream. Members of the public can attend in person in City Council chambers or virtually by participating in this meeting by using what is referred by the State of Florida statutes and rules as Communications Media Technology, or CMT. There are pre-registration requirements to speak virtually during public comment with the use of CMT, which were part of the notice of this meeting and part of, and they're also spelled out in the agenda. If I could get a motion to waive our standard rules to allow participation by CMT. Thank you.
Motion's been made by Councilman Maniscalco, seconded by Councilman Goods. All in favor?
Aye.
And I think all of council is the recipients of a memo last night from Mr. Shelby, who's unable to be here this morning. Unfortunately, the facilitator for this meeting has been exposed to COVID and is not able to attend. So it's been recommended that the workshop be opened, that situation be explained to the public, and that public comment be allowed. And then we've been directed, both Mr. Shelby and I, to try to obtain available dates on a Monday to reschedule the facilitator-led workshop in the very near future. I've already asked her to come up with a list of dates and should have that for you all on Thursday to consider. So that's where we stand now. I think a motion to proceed in that manner, that would be helpful.
Second.
I have a motion made by Councilman Maniscalco, seconded by Councilman Goods. Let's have a roll call vote.
Maniscalco.
Yes.
Miranda.
Yes.
Hurtek.
Yes.
Carlson.
Yes.
Goods.
Yes.
Vieira. And Citro.
Yes.
Motion carried unanimously.
Councilman Carlson.
Just when we get ready to schedule it, we're getting ready to go to council holidays over the summer, and other things are happening, and we need to schedule it as soon as possible so that we can make it on the ballot for November.
I've asked her to provide dates as quickly as she can, and she said she thought she could and would get those to me. So I'll have those for Thursday for you all to consider.
And just in addition, I think if anything like that happens, the next time we schedule, we're going to run out of time. So we should just have a backup plan on how to run the next time, and then so the public can be prepared and we can be prepared. Thank you.
All right, at this time, we will be opening for public comment. And if anybody would like to give public comment, please line up on my left, your right, and it's the same with public comment. You will be given 3 minutes.
Hello, Council. Brandon Barclay, Tampa PBA Vice President. I'm here today about the CRB. Our concerns are with an independent council that we're reopening the door to go back on 2 years of negotiations that we believe that we sat down in good faith. That's all of our concern today. Thank you.
Good morning, councilman, councilwoman. That's pretty cool.
Please state your name.
My name is Getulio Gonzalez Military. Last Monday, on the 18th, President Biden and Secretary Fudge, they provided the city of Tampa with $10,088,897 specifically to address the housing crisis. So how are you going to pay for it? It's right there. I'm suggesting that council establish an office of tenant advocate that will represent indigent tenants and the wrongfully evicted by providing them with legal counsel in civil litigation, and that will oversee a registry of landlords in the city, and that will ensure that the Tenants' Bill of Rights that was passed not too long ago was upheld. Miami-Dade did this, so it's possible. I don't think it'll be preempted by Tallahassee and those jokers up there. Also, the 60-day notice on raising the rent rates, it actually clashes with Florida Statute 83575. And an unscrupulous landlord that's motivated by bad things could put in a provision where tenants are obligated to give 60 days notice on whether or not they'll renew the lease. And on that same day, they could also give the notice that they'll be raising the rent rate above 5%. So you only have 1 day to decide whether or not you're going to renew the contract, given the rent rate. Like that's not right. So I suggest that council extend that 60-day notice from the landlord to the tenant to 120 days. Also, for this office of tenant advocate, I would highly suggest that it's appointed by city council and not the mayor's office. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman, members of council.
Good morning.
As many of you know, I'm Ron Cristaldi. I'm an attorney with the Shoemaker firm, reside at 3321 West Carrington Street. I appreciate you all giving us the opportunity to be here today. It's great to see you all, and thank you, Councilman Carlson, for creating this forum. As one of only, I think I'm only one of 3 former Charter Review Commissioners who are now not either on the dais, 4 of you served with me, or council to hear. I felt compelled this morning to come and just observe and maybe say a few words. 3 points that I wanted to ask the commission to keep into consideration as they go through the workshop. I understand it'll be at a different date here. First, the charter is the Constitution of the city of Tampa. Constitutions are intended to set policy, develop process, and codify set in stone fundamental principles that we run the city on. They're not intended to be vehicles for legislation. We've seen this happen at the state level where things get into our state constitution that are better suited for the state legislature. So the first thing I would ask you all to keep in mind is to preserve the sanctity of our charter in the city in the same way we preserve the sanctity of a constitution, and not use it as a vehicle for legislation. You all have very broad powers to pass ordinances. I'm not here today to speak on any specific issue, and I would commend you all to use those powers from an ordinance perspective, if so be it. Second, I would ask that you all are, for us citizens, the 7 of you, are our buffer between politics and good policy. There are a lot of special interests who will come to you, who will maybe speak this morning and ask you to put into our charter things that advantage one group over another or are driven by political agendas. You all are the folks who we look to keep that from happening, so I would ask you all to serve in that function and be protectors of our charter. And third, and I think this is important, and I don't mean this disrespectfully, but I believe that the philosophy of creating the Charter Review Commission at the time was that it was a citizens review. It was all individuals who are not employed by or elected officials of the city of Tampa. All of us who were here at the time were not employees of the city. Sorry, Mr. Chairman, do I have a few more seconds here? Thank you. And so I think it is important that we preserve the sanctity of that what was passed before with, in my recollection, almost a year-long process, many, many hours of discussion, was a group of citizens who got together. So in closing, I would say when you consider different amendments, ask yourselves these questions. Is it appropriate to put this particular provision in our Constitution, in our charter, or is it better legislated through action of City Council or policy of the city? Second, does it have to happen now? We created a process for review by citizens every 10 years. I believe that process is sound and was well debated. So ask yourself on that particular issue, does it need to happen now? And third, ask yourself, is it politically motivated? If it is, please be the buffer of the citizens and not included in our charter. In closing, I just want to thank you all. I know that these tasks are, having done it a little bit myself, a very little bit, I know what you all do every day is thankless, and you all put a lot of hard work in it, each and every one of you. So thank you for your service, and thank you, Mr. Chairman, for the time.
Thank you.
Good morning, buenos dias.
Well, dear.
My name is David Sinclair, 8434 Pebble Circle, Tampa, Florida. I'm here to speak to you today about the need to establish an office of tenant advocacy here within the city of Tampa. Such an office would represent indigent tenants and the wrongfully evicted by providing them with legal counsel in civil litigation that would oversee the registry of landlords in the city and that would ensure the tenant's bill of right is upheld. This is significant within our city. There are persons who need your support, and I believe that this is something that is very morally significant, and we call upon you to uphold this opportunity. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Good morning, James Michael Shaw Jr. There are I'm using numbers from June 2020, there were 934 police officers in Tampa. Only 158 of them lived in the city, so that's 17%. The other 83% live outside of the city. Now, what do the people outside the city do for the people inside the city? Well, they enacted a policy where they asked landlords to evict 1,100 families, roughly 1,000 of whom were black families, based on one family member's alleged crime, sometimes a petty crime like stealing change out of a cup holder. A teenager does that and the whole family gets evicted. There were victims of domestic violence that ended up losing their homes because the person that they lived with committed a crime against them. That was a regime that was enacted by people who do not live in the city of Tampa on the people who live in the city of Tampa. Now, how were they able to do that? Because nobody was watching. We didn't have an oversight panel staffed of Tampa citizens overseeing what the people outside the city thought was best for us, but not for themselves. So that's why we need meaningful oversight, so that the people who live inside the city can know what these people who live outside the city are doing to us and pay attention to it. Now, to give a little bit of a history, and I'm glad this gentleman talked about past negotiations, I've got on the Elmo here, this is an email from Councilman Vieira to a constituent where he states that, I don't know how to switch to the Elmo.
Can we have the Elmo on, please, IT? Thank you.
Thank you. This is an email from Councilman Vieira where he tells a constituent, I strongly support having a majority of the picks on the board instead of from the mayor. He also supports an independent council, but when it comes to subpoena power, the city attorney is telling us that we can't do that. I've got an email from Councilman Carlson where he tells a constituent, the city attorney says that subpoena power would have to go to the voters in a charter change. And when we review the charter changes in a few months, I will probably propose one. Another email from Councilman Carlson mentions that independent power and subpoena power have to be added by a charter amendment. So this is not the going back on previous negotiations, this is the fulfillment of them. And that's all I have to say for now. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good morning, Council. My name is
Morning.
Tiffany Hilton. I'm a lifelong Tampa resident, and I'm a recent graduate of Stetson Law. In the past few years, you've heard a lot about why we need a strong CRB, but as you know, the issue's a little different today. You don't have to personally endorse the CRB having investigative powers or the CRB having its own attorney. What I'm here asking you today to do is to endorse democracy. Please put these provisions on the ballot and let the people decide. A survey concluded that 82% of Tampa residents want this put to a vote. These are your voters. 82% of your voters, City of Tampa residents, want this on the ballot. I know Tampa Police Department and the PBA don't want this, but as you just heard Mr. Shaw say, only 17% of TPD officers live within city limits. They are not your constituents. These outsiders come into Tampa and they violate the rights of our citizens. We are your voters, and we are asking you to let us decide how we hold our law enforcement officers accountable. I'd love for each of you to stand up today and personally endorse a strong CRB, but I know that's not realistic. Fortunately, it's also not necessary. All I'm asking you today is to endorse democracy and show your voters that you care what they think. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good morning, Mr. Chair. Good morning, City Council. Rashid Akil, 2908 North Mitchell Avenue, here representing the Citizen Review Board as a member of the Citizen Review Board. Has been a lot of dialogue, several workshops in reference to the structure of the Citizen Review Board. We're currently operating under a new ordinance. We have been operating under that new ordinance for only a few months now. In the past month, I had the opportunity to stand before you all and give the annual report in reference to how we would like for the board to continue under the new ordinance, to give it the necessary time to reflect on what has worked and what can be improved. I think at this moment, after all the workshops and all the dialogue that was put into the current structure of the Citizen Review Board, it's only not only necessary, but I think awarded that we conduct under the new ordinance and allow that the necessary time to ensure a reflection of what needs to be improved on in the future. I think it's premature to continue dialogue, continue workshops in reference to the structure of the Citizen Review Board. I think that allows a crack in the wall for other entities to destroy such a structure, and I think it's only be rewarded that we continue under the new ordinance. I think we're all volunteers. We put in a lot of long hours necessary in reference to the board, and I just believe that the continued dialogue and workshops in reference to the structure of the board might create instability within the board itself. We also have new members that's also getting acclimated to the board as well. So I would like to see a united front moving forward in reference to the ordinance that we have on the table, allow the board to conduct under the new ordinance, move forward, and then, if necessary, reflect on what has worked and what can be improved. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman, members of council. Andy Mates, 101 East Kennedy Boulevard. Thank you for the opportunity to be here today. I just wanted to throw out a few comments about charter review and review of a document that really sets forth our fundamental guiding principles. Most businesses that operate within the city of Tampa really only look for a couple of things, and they look for predictability and reliability in processes. They want to understand that they should be able to hire professionals if necessary to review texts of either codes or charters, and have some predictability about how that's going to be interpreted on a go-forward basis as they decide to invest in our community and have a long view of time through investments. And so I would hope that when we look at changes to our fundamental documents, that we would look at that process. We have the opportunity to review that every 10 years by the citizens. And I would hope that we don't use other processes along the way unless really necessary to cure issues and problems that have to be fixed in an urgent manner, and that we would rely upon the process that gives those fundamental principles the ability to sustain over time. And so I just ask as we go forward this, that I know as you will consider those points, and I hope that you will continue to do the great job that each of you has done. Tampa's on fire. It's a great place to live, work, and play, and for that I applaud and thank you, each of you. And I just ask that we continue to provide that predictability and that reliability to businesses that are here and that look to come to Tampa to invest. Thank you. Have a great day.
Thank you. Do we have anybody else in chamber that wishes to speak during public comment? I believe we have 2 people online. Ms. Gretchen Caltron.
Good morning. Thank you. I wish that I could be there in person, but unfortunately, I seem to have caught the bug. So I am wondering first, before I speak, I did send council a presentation, a PowerPoint presentation. I'm wondering if you all received that?
Yes.
Okay. And I'm wondering if, when the workshop is reset, will we then be able to speak at that time so I could give the presentation in person?
Yes,
I
ma'am.
suppose.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, thank you. Then, gentlemen and Councilwoman Hurtak, I'm going to reserve my time at this moment because I can barely speak, as you can tell. So I will see you when the workshop is rescheduled. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. David Seminoff. Is he online? Mr. Seminoff, are you there?
Oh, hi, I'm sorry. I thought I was muted and I was not, so I put myself on mute. My name is David Siminoff. I am a Tampano who lives at 307 South Bungalow Park Avenue. I'm also the president of the Greater Tampa chapter of the ACLU. I do want to echo a lot of the great information that you've gotten from my colleagues and allies and remind the board that what we're talking about here are common sense things that have worked throughout Florida. There is nothing controversial here. There is nothing to fear here. I also advise you to dismiss a lot of the disinformation from people who, for whatever reason, don't seem to want more transparency and accountability between the police force and the citizens. But more importantly, I want to remind you that the issue on the table, which we'll come back to, is letting the people vote. It really doesn't matter how you all feel about these issues. It really matters what the people of Tampa feel about these issues. There is an independent third-party survey which shows that A, people are in favor of what's being proposed, and B, 82% of them want this to be voted upon in the chapter. So as my colleague Tiffany said earlier, you know, this is what your constituents want. This is what the people who live inside the city of Tampa want. And I don't know how you can go back to them and say, I voted to not let you have the chance to vote on something you have said clearly you want. Those are my comments.
Thank you. Council members? If I hear no objections, we're adjourned.